Ducati does it again. And what do I mean by that? They're staying in the headlines, even though we are in the middle of summer break and there's no racing going on. How do they do it? But before I jump into everything that's happening in the Ducativerse, please, if you could subscribe, help us grow here on YouTube. And a fun little fact, I basically respond to every single comment. So let's talk some MotoGP. I'm not AI. I'm not a bot. I swear. So the first piece of news that kind of came out of Ducati over the summer break, well, maybe not the first piece of news, but one I found interesting, is that the idea that Jorge Martin might find the Ducati support a little lacking in the second half of the season for his hopeful title charge this year. And I had said this on the podcast weeks ago. When a rider typically ends a contract with one manufacturer to move to another, the support parts, the new upgrades, the development testing, that stuff kind of starts to go away. And it's not just Jorge Martin leaving Ducati, it's also Pramac leaving Ducati. So do you think the factory is going to be sharing its deepest, darkest secrets all the way into the deep recesses of this season? I don't think so. And as much as I don't think they're going to be sabotaging Jorge Martin, he's still going to get the data, he's still going to be part of the team, he's still going to get main factory support. But I do think the new upgrades are going to be a little bit harder to see on his bike, because I don't think they're going to be there in the last half of the season. Now, that might be a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because sometimes the satellite riders are asked to try new parts before they give them to the factory boys, just to make sure that there's a positive difference. Which means over the course of a weekend, while Jorge Martin is focusing on the best race pace, the best lap times, and trying to score as many points to win a championship, the engineers are coming to him wanting to try the new things, to see if they're moving in the right direction. And it takes the focus away from the present and puts it on the future, which is a necessary evil for developing motorcycle moving forward. It just is. That's the way it is. That's what the satellite riders are there to do. So as much as maybe not getting those new upgrades will hurt Jorge Martin, not having to mess and monkey around with future development might let him focus on the present a little better. Who knows? And speaking of upgrades, it came out this last week that Alex Marquez didn't really get the bike he was expecting to get from Ducati this year. He said in 2023, the bike they got from factory Ducati was basically the bike that the team used, the factory team that is, used for the last race in Valencia. Now that is a motorcycle that has gone through an entire season of development, and then it was handed right to Alex Marquez for winter testing and the 2023 season. But in 2024, the bike he got from the factory team to continue his campaign with the Gresini Ducati was from the beginning of the 2023 season, not the end. Which means this bike was stripped back down to what they started with in 2023, meaning he wasn't getting a bike that was 4 or 5 months old, he was getting a bike that was almost 12 months old. Now, this is sort of the stuff that I kind of take with a grain of salt. Riders complaining about the machines, but if you look at the difference between the 2023 spec and the 2024, it's a lot different than last year between the brand new and the year-old spec. I mean, they were a lot closer last year on the satellite team. I mean, you had Bezzecchi fighting for a world title in that 2023, Alex Marquez riding well, Fabio Di Giannantonio getting his first win. You're not seeing that same level of performance other than in the hands of Marc Marquez from this year's 2023 against the current spec of the factory bad boys. So there might be a little something to this one. Maybe Ducati really did want to put some gap between their factory riders on the current spec and the bikes from last year. Give those factory guys some breathing room. Maybe. Or maybe I should just replace this with a tinfoil hat.